I'm going to take this opportunity to tell you about what I'm working on right now. Not what I've done before. I'll move on. So, what I'm doing now is that I'm mapping drought knowledges. And I'm doing that from within the Marius project that was mentioned before. So my research context is coming from within this project, which is a large interdisciplinary project. Lots of people here in Soggy are working in this project. There's also people in other sites, like Bristol and Cranfield and the CAH and so on. Marius is one of 4 NERC projects financed through a drought and water scarcity in the UK programme. So it's interdisciplinary, and for once there are actually more than one social science teams. So there's lots and lots of physical modelers, as always, everywhere. But there's also one team on law and economics, and they're also here in Oxford, and then there's us in human geography / STS. And the combination of human geography and STS is quite important for what I'm doing, because it gives me my theoretical perspective. So this is where the idea of working with entanglements come from. So I'm coming from science and technology studies. I'm really interested in how human and non-human entangles, how nature and society is co-produced, how things are always also political. And we use, when I talk to people in the same field, we use a lot of the concepts like hybrid, more than human, co-production, things like that that nobody understands outside of our field. And in that context, my work often seems rather banal, rather trivial, like mapping, what's that? Description, hey, can't you move on from description? Come to the good analytical stuff when you can use high-level concepts. Yeah, however, I insist, following Bruno Latour, who is one of our gurus, I insist that description is important. Now, he says that to describe, to be attentive to the concrete states of affairs, to find the uniquely adequate account of a given situation is incredibly demanding. He also says that inquiries, polls, whatever, we go, we listen, we learn, we practice, we become competent. We change our views. Good fieldwork always produces a lot of descriptions. So I think of my mapping as a way of describing the world that can teach us new things. So I'm trying to do good fieldwork here by working from within the Marius Consortium, which will be working until 2017. And in that project, I work with participant observation, looking at the knowledge practices, using the documentation I can get hold of, following all the meetings, of course. I also do in-depth interviews with our project team researchers and with stakeholder representatives, because of course we got stakeholders. Everybody got stakeholders nowadays. And we do a lot of things with them. So, and they sort of actually interviewing stakeholders, it goes down very well because nobody really knows what to do with them. So they get very happy when I ring them up and say, hey, would you tell me what you think for an hour and a half? Oh, yeah. So I get a lot of information from that. I also sort of work out from Marius outside with the snowballing technologies. So like, asking everybody who I interview to point me to more people to interview that I don't know, that are not associated with Marius. So where I'm hoping to get from this, because we got stakeholders, and I've been doing this before, and I don't want to write just another article about this, I want to do something else. I actually want to take this mapping thing quite literally. So what I want to do when I think about this, my first step is looking something like this. I want to create a map. So this would be what it looks like, the relationship between the knowledge production in Marius, the stakeholders, and the wider network. So the dense bit here would be like Marius and stakeholders, and then they would have connection. Like, for example, a water company might link to a lot of other water companies, creating a little lump that might link to a PhD program, that might link us to, let's say, Liverpool University, or Newcastle University. So I get that kind shape of map of drought knowledges starting with the Marius project. Of course, I want to move on to the next bit. I also want to look what are the practices. So I want sort of filters or layers to sort of tip that one over to the side. Everybody's doing drought knowledges. But what kind of practices, what kind of knowledge practices are they involved with? Some might use, if I use water resource modeling as one filter, some of the actors mapped in there will also be connected by using that kind of modeling. I might want to use monitoring, rainfall monitoring, for example. Some of the actors might be connected by that and some will not. So I will actually, by looking at this, by doing this, I will get a very much deeper understanding of the relationships creating knowledge about drought in the UK. Because these maps, sort of, if you look at the legend of this map, there will be in these visualizations, I will have actors, I will have research practices, I will have monitoring technologies, I will have techno-scientific devices, I will have natural things. So I will actually be able to visualize relationships between a lot of different kinds of things. Not just sort of relationship between humans, but between humans and things, humans and practices, and so on. So this visualization of entanglements of drought knowledge mapping will be a way to include humans and things, norms and techniques, facts and institutions, tools and beliefs in the same picture. And this is something that's very different from the way in which we social scientists usually present our work, because I usually, or normally, well, I have to do that as well, but write a narrative about who knows who and who does what. That would be the normal thing. I'm happy to do that, but it would be nice to talk to somebody else in a new way. And I know for sure that our stakeholders will never read that article. So, what I don't know yet. That's so much fun with this. I don't know what the UK drought knowledge maps are going to look like. I might probably come up with a lot of different visualization, a lot of different maps. It's quite possible that some things will look like irradiating from a center and come out like that, for example, if we look at modeling approaches. Other things might look like some actors with very, very strong ties. For example, people were looking at drought in chalk streams. Other things might be looking like very few actors with influence, like on regulatory decisions and so on. And I might come up with some of those very dense practices where one practice is adopted by all, like rainfall, using rainfall data or whatever. So that's why it's so exciting. I don't know where I'm going to go with this yet. And thank you for paying attention to that.